I always ask that same question, where was I born? I was born in Brooklyn to a mom and dad, my father being Italian, my mother being Spanish descent. Um, I think it was Maimonides Hospital in Brooklyn. That's where I was born. Yeah, Maimonides Hospital, which would be closest to, most famous would be Bensonhurst, that area. So I was born in Brooklyn. Leonardo, which would be Leonard Michael Fontana Jr. It's funny. Let's say the early '70s. My mom and dad would play a lot of R&B in the house, and on the radio would be 107.5. And in that time, there was a famous DJ named Frankie Crocker. And what he would do is he would speak about records that he was playing or the groups, or he went to and I would just be listening. It would be just on in my mother's house, and it was always around the same time, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And here I am imitating as a young child, not knowing, ever seeing a radio DJ. I remember taking an antenna and making it my microphone. I put on these big, if I remember, it used to be these like black cans, headphones, and I'd be pretending I was being him, and I would take my mother's records and play them. So I didn't even know I was even DJing. That's the funny part. And my mom's stuff was up high. So I would have to go on what they call the console. Not a DJ console. This is a console with a television in it, and had a phonograph, and had speakers. It was like a big piece of furniture. And I would go on top, and I would stand on that to actually, she would have another setup where she had a stereo, and I would be playing the records. I'd be playing, I remember, Barry White, Santana, and I just taking the records and playing. I didn't even know what I was doing, but that was my first. I'm gonna say my first thing with music. And we lived in an apartment housing, kind of like what they would call the projects. They were in projects. These was in Brooklyn. It was near Starrett City, and it was multicultural. So I had Ronnie, a black family next door, which they were into disco, heavy disco. In fact, they were going to the Gallery, Nicky Siano's club, as husband and wife. And then down the hall we had, like, she would be like almost like my Aunt Irma, and she'd be playing salsa. So here I am as a young kid. I'd be taking my big wheel and run around and bang on the door, and they would go, "Hi, Lenny," and they give me a cookie, and then I'd be hearing stuff like Side Effect, Always There, and I go in, I start dancing with them, and it was just such a I'll put it like this: I was always destined for this, always destined. It was like my karma to have all these things that were happening. I was so young, and here I am. They're hustling in front of me. I'm watching them hustle. This is before Saturday Night Fever. We're talking early '70s. So I didn't know about clubbing. I didn't know about any of that stuff. My father was a stockbroker, and at that time he wasn't a stockbroker yet. He was a clerk. He was going to work. He'd come home, and he'd play music. And it would just be on the radio. It'd be 107.5 WBLS. We'd say Frankie Crock or Fred Bugsy or whoever was playing, and they were playing this stuff, James Brown and funk and all this great music in New York. Here I am living in Brooklyn, and pre-disco. My Summer Suite. These were the records that were Love Steam. I'm sorry, not Sweet. Love Steam. Barry White. Lolita Holloway, Dreaming a Dream, I think it was. Oh, Crown Heights Affair, Dreaming a Dream. I mean, all these were early '70s, and my mom and dad are playing all these records, and my neighbors are playing all these records. So it was like it was like in my blood already. That's my first initial, I would say, presentation to what funk, disco, no rock. They didn't play rock. They were more into R&B. They didn't even know it was disco. It was called R&B. It was soul music. I took my communion money And I remember buying Running Away, Roy Ayers, and a few other records, but that stands out. Roy Ayers' Running Away. Shibidoo, ba ba ba. I heard it on BLS, and I ran and got the record. I found it. I just remember saying, "Do you know have this record called Shibidoo Ba Ba Ba?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, that's that Roy Ayers track on the wall, Ubiquity album." And I think it was the 45. Didn't even think about a 12-inch. I looked at them and they didn't. There was a store called TSS, Times Square stores. People who will remember this. And TSS used to have a record area. And you used to go in there, and the guy, what they would do is they would have the lineup of the boxes and labels, color codes A through K, and then they would say the prices. And 45s, I can afford a 45. So I went and bought a 45. I think it was $1.50, something like that. I went and bought the 45 Polydor, Roy Ayers. I brought that thing home. I played it on, which is really stylish now, is a record player, which kids are buying again. Mine was the Bee Gees. I had a Bee Gees record player. For whatever reason, I got it one Christmas. I was happy I got it. And I played those records on, it looked like, plastic box thing with the needle. And that record, but even before that, I will say, now that I remember, Chic, Yowzy Yowzy Yowza, Dance 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 was my first single I ever bought. My own money. Not as a DJ, just bought it and played the hell out of it to the point it was all scratched up. But that was, it's going to say Dance Dance Dance. Yowzy, yowzy, yowza. I want to boogie with you. I remember that. And what would happen is I play that record. My mom's friends would come over and say, "Can you play that record, Dance Dance?" I'd play it for them. And here I am, not realizing that I'm a DJ yet, but I'm playing records and I'm seeing the reactions for people. And I just remember, I can never forget that. They were so happy just dancing to the music. And that for me was like a calling again. Back to, this is calling me, the music's calling. Ooh, that's a good one. My boy Darren. Darren was friends with D-Train in Long Island. They lived near each other. And Darren has been like a protege of mine. He's always been around me since the beginning of his production career. He did keyboards for Camacho, and he did a record with me a long time. He's a phenomenal keyboard player and a sweet guy. And he says to me, "Yo, man, I got to introduce you to somebody." I'm saying, "Well, who are you going to introduce to?" He says, "Yo, you know James Williams?" I'm like, "D-Train?" He said, so 10 years ago, he brings D-Train to this studio where we're sitting right now. And D-Train comes, and when D-Train talks to you, he talks to you in third party. It's like, well, D-Train needs and D-Train wants. It's like, I'm like, "James, we're like Paradise Garage fans of yours. Like, you are a voice of our generation." So he's like, I really want to work with you. At this time, he was going through his own stuff, and he was going through a regrowth and change. And the first single we started was this thing called Invincible. And when he writes about his life. If you listen to his music, it's a documentary of what's in his life at the time. Keep On, You're the One for Me. Those were at those times. Keep Giving Me Love. It's another thing. It's when we did Raise Your Hands, a whole other thing with him. Raise Your Hands was D-Train's proclaiming he's back. And it really was that. When we put the record out in WMC, it was a box office smash. So Darren said, "Yo, man, I got to hook you two brothers up because I love you both and I want to see D-Train back on top." I said, "Well, what does D-Train want to do?" He's like, "He just wants to sing again. He wants to work." I said, "Okay." So we just started working, and it's been 7 years now. We did the first single, and then we kind of left each other a little bit. And then I called him in 2013, the summer of 2014. The summer of 2014, I said, "Listen, dude." No, actually, he called me. He says, "Oh, yo, I got a technical question." He says, "What's up?" Something about the computer. So we get into it. I said, "Listen, how's this for a start?" I said, "Why don't you come out? I'll show you what's wrong with your computer. But I'm going to cook. I'm going to barbecue. It's in July." I said, "I got this idea. If you do this with me, this thing will be huge for you." He's like, all right. So he comes down. My assistant was here working. He plays the track. I'm outside cooking. We have a whole bunch of people here. And he says, come down and hear it. I come down and hear it, and it's raise your hands. The first initial, he started, because that's how D-Train is. If he feels it, the mic's got to be on, and he just goes. Once that mic is going, it's like vocal diarrhea. Lord D-Train is here for you. I mean, it's literally like, and it's like, what don't you use in the final recording? That's how much stuff he gives you. And a lot of stuff is just, wow, you can make 2-3 other songs from this. Like some people will listen to the stuff that we're going, how do you know what to take? You have to spend time. You have to detail it. You have to just get in there and listen to it from a different perspective and listen to it from a buyer's perspective is what people are expecting to hear from D-Train. So that the story of the D-Train it's been like the comeback kid story for him and I, in a way. He's reliving his youth and I'm reliving my love of this music again, and to see this music become and prosper. What turns me on? Well, I'm married. So it's not about women anymore. It's a long time ago. What turns me on is more about success. Seeing something from nothing become something. I think that turns me on. If I, example could be even if I saw a friend making it something, it gives me inspiration. That turns me on. That's what happens as you get older. You don't look at the same things as when you're a kid. When you're a kid, a car, ooh, I want that car. Or, ooh, a nice Versace shirt or whatever, Armani, Boss, whatever it is. You start to think differently as you get older. I think it's more about what you're doing in your life. I look to people who are successful and they do something. That turns me on. Like, that makes me drive more. Laziness. People who just bullshit and they're lazy. Total turn off. And liars. They lie to you. It's just like, ugh, can't deal with it. I can't deal with people bullshitting. Again, here we go back to that word shit. A torch, something to read, and a piece of clothing. Well, I've done a lot of different things. I think brain surgery would be an interesting one. Truthfully, I couldn't even deal with touching someone and cutting them open. I wouldn't be able to do that. I always said, I could have been a psychiatrist too. Part of this business of what we're in, you deal with people's problems, and I wind up becoming a therapist in a way, alongside with healing through music. You wind up talking about people's, this atmosphere puts you in a position where people forget about what's going on outside and they tell you where they're at. So I could have seen myself doing therapist or psychiatric work, sure. I don't know if I want to do it on a daily basis, but I could have seen myself doing it. Clean sewers. I don't think I'd want to do septic tanks and clean sewers. I mean, I could do construction stuff if I ever had to, and I know electrical and things like that, but I don't know if I could do dirty, crappy work, shitty work. I could do, no, I couldn't do that. But then again, you know what? Here's the deal. If you have to do it because your family depends on you to make money, you do what you got to do, I guess. But no, I don't really want to do that. Ready? Donald Trump. Who would I want to see on a dollar bill? Isn't that Abraham? Who the hell's on? George Washington, right? I think it could stay the way it is. Or maybe it's time to start showing some of our black constituents, the ones that have made things and created some wonderful things along the last 200 years of the United States. Maybe we need to start seeing that on some of the money. Some of the people that were behind, say, antibiotics or making the light bulb, because lately Google's been showing all that stuff now. Oh, it's this person that really did it, not Thomas Bell or what's the name, Edison. These are the real people. You're like, typical. At first, I was against it. Um, I think it's gotten better. I think people are starting to realize that this exists. They're going on to it. Um, it's helping the music to prosper and grow. I still think it needs a lot more development, for truth be said. But we have to start somewhere. So it's pretty cool. From what I understand, it's actually doing better than some of the record sales for some of these guys. So, everyone, these things have developed into something. Like the radio has become, or the internet radio has become another platform to promote what we do. Because FM radio is oversaturated. It's very commercial. It's run by a few monopolies. A couple of companies own it. So it's very hard to break, especially new material. So internet radio for me, it's been really cool because I get everyone asking me, can I get your mix? Can I get your mix? And they all bother my assistant Manuel, poor thing. And he's like, I don't have time for this. This radio, these people are calling me. And I'm like, it's very important. Internet radio is very, because I always feel all platforms are important. But internet radio has become, I think, more the thing to watch and get into. I don't think I will create an internet station because I'm running a record label and I'm DJing and producing and remixing. It'd be hard to, but yeah, it's awesome. Retiring? No, I don't know. He will. I hope I can always do this as long as I don't lose my hearing. That's always the fear of being in the clubs. You eventually lose your hearing. I mean, or not being trendy enough, musically, because there was a time when EDM started, or should I say electro, and good dance music that I was involved in went underground, and when that happens, the commercial side of it is lost. So it's hard to earn a good living from it. But I've seen the cycle, and the cycle's kind of back, so we're enjoying it again, and we'll enjoy as long as I can. If I can keep going, maybe I'll go into management, maybe I'll go into the other aspects of the business, the publishing business. I don't think I'll ever leave it because I love it too much. It's a creative thing for me, musically. This is a job that there is no other job like this. This is arts, painting, making music, and this is all creative. The money is the second part of it. That's the award. The glory is the satisfaction of someone saying to you, wow, that's beautiful, that's amazing. Do you know what that record did for me? Oh my God, you're just incredible with the tracks you come out. I mean, hearing those things is just what makes our job that much better. So where are you going to get that kind of response? You're not going to get that working at the bank. The bank is going to hand you your check. You're going to do your job. But I'm going to try to keep going with it as long as they tell me I can't, until they tell me I have to stop. I've been doing it a long time already. So we'll see. As long as I have my health and my ears, I'll keep going. Karmic power. If you look at my logo, it's kind of like the yin and the yang. It's what goes around comes around. And I always felt if you put good energy out there and you pay forward, you'll get it back tenfold. And what that means is you do one small thing, or you will get it in so many different blessings. And I was very blessed to be in a business where some people opened the door for me, and I was able to create such great things from it, a whole career. And I wanted to, with my assistant Manuel at the time, we were like, let's put a record label together. And this name was something that I was thinking about for a long time, Karmic. And I'm a firm believer of karmic path, because I'm very spiritual like that. And I wanted to take some new people that didn't get a chance and give them a chance, a forum to release music. And if something becomes a really big success from it, from another artist, I would be more than happy to see that happen. So, of course, it was a forum for me to release my material and us to do what I did through the 90s into the 2000s, and to do it for myself and a brand. We started end of 2012, December 2012. We are now in our 3.5 year, and we have seen huge success. We've gone from basically ashes to now where people are asking me continuously for material and stuff. Along the way, I took the know-how of the record labels I worked with around the world and the success, and I just implemented it and created our new system with my assistant Manuel, who's my partner and my best friend. And he had the same passion. He wanted to release material and create a story with proper dance music, good tracks, new producers. It was easy for me to go to the same people, the names that I know. I wanted to find some other people to help launch some careers. And that's pretty much what we've been doing. We've been nowadays getting a lot of submissions of demos, and I'm listening carefully. And I'm picking what I feel I would play as a DJ. Or if it's not necessarily for me, I would be like, okay, what DJ would play this? And design the releases to be that way, because I don't want everything to sound like it's me. I want it to sound like a smorgasbord of a record label that's got different sounds in house music. If it's deep, I'm going to try to pick out the best deep track. If it's techie, I'm going to try to pick out a techie track that I feel is appropriate to Karmic Power. Or if it's a big vocal, I want it to be something that the level I would produce, if not better than me, or something at the level that I make records at. Along the way, we all felt the difference from the old days to now is that you create a brand, and the brand becomes the powerhouse or the catalyst to performances, and the artists is now are DJs, the DJs are artists, so you put them all together, and this is where Karmic Power Records and Karmic Power Bookings, which we are now at too as well. We have a booking agency with DJ Twism, who's running it, my other assistant. His real name is Brian. And we're having success with that as well. We're getting a lot of offers now coming in with England and Europe, starting to ask after all the success in the records. And we're just going to keep going from there and create the story similar to how Strictly Rhythm did, how Defected did, how Subliminal did. Just make positive vibes, make good music, and let the world make it a success. That's how I'm looking at it. So if anyone has any awesome demos, of course, send it to us. You can find us on the internet, www.karmin-power-records.com. I'm Lenny Fontana.